The writing process for this novel involved many revisions over many years. This is my first novel, so I had no idea how to write a novel, and I was figuring it out along the way. This is a story about two people who fall in love despite the history of their traumas and despite all of the counterforces that are conspiring to pull them apart. And it's the story of how they figure out how to navigate those tensions and whether it makes sense for them to be in partnership. This is also a historical novel, and it's a story about a play that was performed in an orphanage in the Warsaw Ghetto in 1942, and how that play then gets performed 30 years later in a village in India, and how the performance of that play ends up changing the lives of villagers who are fighting for their lives, who are fighting for their right to land. You know, art doesn't just exist in one way. It doesn't just exist solely to save us, but you know, it has all of these hidden rooms, and I wanted to live in those rooms through India and Poland.
"This is Gopalpur," the professor said. "This is where they will perform your play." This time Yarick didn't bother to correct the professor that it wasn't his play. He was looking at the goats tethered to a barn, at a lonely cow that grazed the field. Next to the huts, there were rows of gardens. In the center was a well. A boy drew water, the squeak of the pulley against the hinge, like a long-lost melody. For a moment, he tried to imagine her here with him, making a hut of their own.
I think in earlier versions, I had perhaps more of a writerly agenda of what I wanted the characters to do or where I wanted the book to go. And I think that the revision process, what I've learned, is a kind of letting go of that writerly intention. And it is a kind of deepening or immersion into connecting with the characters and seeing, you know, more of how they might see the story of what they might want to do. So that was a deep education for me. You know, there's a scene with the rabbi and Yarick sort of later in the novel, and he's thinking about, well, what is the question that he really wants to ask if he's going to go and get counsel from the wise rabbi. And you know, he asks a series of questions, and he realizes the question that he really wants to ask is this question of, after everything, am I capable of love? So I was really interested in exploring this idea of love almost as like an act of resistance. I hope that readers have their own experience with this novel, and you know, part of the process for me has been that letting go and knowing that each reader will have their own very distinct story that they're bringing to the novel, their own set of experiences, and I'm so looking forward to connecting with people and hearing how they are thinking about these characters and what resonated with them and what didn't. And yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to.